Tulagi Island, located just south of Guadalcanal Province, Central Province, was the administrative capital of the British Solomon Island Protectorate from 1897 to 1942. The island was the official port of entry and the home of the resident commissioner after the British Protectorate was declared over Southern Solomons in 1893. The island was originally chosen by the British as a comparatively isolated and healthier alternative to the other disease-ridden larger islands of Solomons. The first resident commissioner, Sir Charles Morris Woodford, purchased Tulagi Island and took up residence in 1897, intending to control the labor trade operating in Solomon waters at that time. Many decades later, only a few historic landmarks remain that retell the events that happened during the colonial period of Solomon Islands. The iconic Cathedral of Tulagi, the remains of World War II, and the remains of the residence of Commissioner Woodford, dated by periods between 1897 to 1942. Upon a hill located at the Tulagi Island remained what was left of the resident commissioner residence, site called No. 1 House, built in 1904. Stone stairs and fragmented concrete and old water tanks are all that remain today of the commissioner's home, aside from the concrete post with a 360 view overlooking Tulagi Harbor.
This is the British Resident Commissioner's Official residence site.
Today, only a few of Solomon Island's first capital is still visible. One of the notable historic sites is the cutting through the ridge or hill in Tulagi, which was dug by convicts during the colonial era to allow for an easy access across from the port to the township at the other side of the island. The hill was dug by the prisoners' manpower with hand tools only, which was completed with a walkway bridge above to connect the top surface. The work started in 1918 and was complete 2 years later in 1920. Local history records recounts an extraordinary event whereby the wife of the resident commissioner at that time once fell from the walkway bridge above the cutting and was caught by one of the prisoners walking below. The convicted prisoner was later granted a full pardon for his heroic act. The cut-hill all-rusted walkway bridge was later replaced with a new one. Later, during the Second World War, the invasion of Tulagi began. The Japanese forces were the first to arrive and bombed Tulagi on 22 and 23 January 1942 and continued to Macambo and Gavutu, Tanamboko, forcing an evacuation of all locals and colonial masters. The Japanese 3rd Kurespace Naval Landing Forces captured Tulagi without resistance, and they built a naval base and assigned the higher ground, which was later called Hill 281, that enables a bird's eye view over Tulagi Harbor. This is where the Japanese anti-aircraft artillery, AAA gun, and their tunnel stationed. The Japanese established their headquarters on the island, with fighting positions located around the area. The first sites to be bombed by the American Marine during the initial bombardment of Tulagi Island against the Japanese force in the early morning of 7th August 1942. Meanwhile, just a few minutes' walk from where the resident commissioner's home is situated, curved into the ridge with two entrances, is one of the Japanese tunnels constructed during their occupation of the island in 1942, prior to the arrival of the American Marines. The island of Tulagi saw the bitterest of the World War, being fought for almost 3 years, and the British administration office were destroyed, and the resident commissioner during the war period decided and moved the administration to Auki in Malaita province. After the war, there were suggestions to establish the capital on the mainland of Gela. However, in October 1945, the British Solomon Island Protectorate Advisory Council agreed to move the capital to a site just west of Mataniko River. centered in Point Cruz on Guadalcanal Province, which is now Honiara, the capital of Solomon Islands. Tulagi Island remains the urban center for Central Province of Florida Islands.